your car. Hey, the Knights of the Roundtable now convening in the Sactown Sports. What are we calling this, Drapes? Is this the throne room? Is that what we are?
The throne room. I like that. I like that.
To my right is Chris Watkins.
Hello.
From Stiles and Watkins. Who do you have down there at your end of the round table?
I don't know. I never see these guys. We got my guy Alan Stiles over here to the left. Alan, you want to do the honors of introducing that guy? Longest tetenured employee here, probably.
I don't know if I should even do the honors, but Mr. Jason Ross himself.
Yeah. You know why we're doing this, right?
Why?
LeBron James of KCK said they wanted me to work with you guys a little bit,
No.
When is the LeBron of the station going to work with the Bronny of the station?
I know, right? My
We
son
get
Nick,
going.
he actually wants to be on our air. He wants to do like a regular segment. He's like,
You
Dad,
guys
I
got
got
to do it.
And it's so funny. It's during the draft, he was like, Dad, I know who the Kings should draft. I got a draft list for them. And I was like, how do you even know all these players? He's like, they're all in 2K. And I'm like, no, bro, you can't draft off of what you see in 2K. You can't do that. And so maybe we'll get him on here.
Yeah, he was going to be our draft expert for a while,
he
right?
was,
And then
right?
either he lost interest or you lost
No,
interest.
I lost interest in him. I'm
Yeah.
like, if he did some research, okay, but
Uh-huh.
not just off of 2K.
Yeah, let's start with Jason Ross. Jay Ross, as we get ready for another Kings season. How many years is this for you of Kings basketball?
This will be my 31st season. Yeah, coming up. I wish I
know you were just honored recently at the arena.
That was cool. They surprised me on that. So what I wish I had done, and I don't know if Kyle probably shouldn't have done this because he's come around when it's been better, but I wish I signed a contract per loss because I'd be a wealthy
Wow.
man. I
How
mean,
about
31
that?
years, they've lost a lot.
Dude,
Yeah.
Dude, you got PTSD, huh?
Yes.
Seriously.
Yes.
Workman's comp.
Right.
You know,
I do.
Yeah.
I have. Yes.
How you feeling about this year?
Super optimistic if I close my eyes during the preseason. Yeah, but I think I am optimistic. I like the talent that they added, and I think it should be a good year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, and maybe you've been listening, we've been talking to a lot of announcers from around the league the last week or so, and Drapes, right? There's been some skepticism from some of the announcers just talking about, I like DeMar. I don't know about the fit. Now, obviously, the announcers say, haven't really watched the team in the preseason, but there is, I think, league-wide, there is some skepticism as to the fit here.
Well, I think that there should be a little bit just based on what they did in the preseason. Look, everybody's going to sit here and say that the preseason is not a big deal. I mean, we talk about Carmichael Dave, who conveniently isn't here.
Where is he?
He's
You're
starting
the only one.
Let me tell you this
You're the
much.
only one talking about Carmichael.
No. I'm talking about him because how often, someone goes, he was saying he was changing his diet. He was doing all this stuff, right? He said all that. Did we get a check-in after a week? Because I don't think a lot changed in a week. And I think it's the same thing with the Kings. The problems that they had in the preseason, they're going to have these problems at least on Thursday. I'm not saying throughout the whole season, but at least on Thursday. So get ready, Jason, for another loss. You better sign that contract another way. I'm just saying.
Wow, Chris.
Dude,
what's going on with
is
your
this
partner?
who you work with every day, bro?
No, I'm just saying.
Negative Nelly over
No,
here.
I'm just saying. Look, I last season I had the Kings doing some things and they did not do them. I think they will be good. All I'm saying is there's going to be a little bit. I don't know what the hangover is. A play-in hangover. I don't know what the type of hangover.
Drapes.
Championship hangover.
Remember, there's somebody on the station last year who said, we've had enough of the beam. Remember
I didn't want to go there.
No, first of
Dude,
all,
that's on your resume, kid. That's on your resume.
No, because first of all, that's not what I said.
What did you say?
Okay. What I said was, if they didn't have a good season, which they didn't.
This guy backpedaling. You
No,
looking
no,
like
no,
Deion Sanders out here, man. Go ahead.
Should we have that conversation? I just ask questions. Chris knows. I just ask questions.
I definitely know.
Show everybody your Warriors tattoo.
Oh, don't start.
Do you really have one?
No, I don't have one.
All right.
Not one that he can show.
Let me
No, I
ask
don't
you
have
fellas this, though, because everybody's upset about the preseason. I get it. I understand. 0-5, they didn't look good. But Dallas was 1-3. We had Mark Followill on the other day, and I asked him, is there panic down there? He's like, no, they know who they are. Why here in Sacramento are we questioning who this team is when we know who De'Aaron Fox is? We know who Domas is, DeMar is. Why don't we think that they can flip the switch, if you will, come the regular season? Dallas is going to do it. They were 1-3 in the preseason.
What did Dallas do last season?
Denver was bad.
They went to the finals.
But But here's the thing. In terms of a roster, and maybe it's PTSD, maybe, Jason, because you've been around so long and you can speak to this, I just feel like Kings fans, to some extent, are every 2-game losing streak, every 3, oh, here we go again. Instead of saying, you know what? It'll be okay. I'm not worried about what I saw these first 5 games of the preseason. I'm not worried about that because actually I think this is a more mature team. This is a more confident team, a team that knows, unlike last year when they were believing all their press clippings, they were still on that euphoria, on that high. I think this team is coming out with a business-like mentality this upcoming season. And so I'm not worried about what I saw.
Yeah, the only thing I would agree, I don't care 0-5. That didn't really phase me at all. I think it was just really more how they look. The turnovers after game 2, the first 2 games of the preseason, the starters looked sharp. The bench was kind of weak, and we understood why. They had guys out. But from some of the breadcrumbs, I would say, that were out there, they played a bigger team. They had some issues. Defense at times had some issues. So I think kind of what Alan's saying, I don't know that they'll totally get switched come Thursday. But I think talent at the top 6 or 7, I think it's as good as anybody in the West.
Chris Watkins, what do you got?
I think it is PTSD. I really think that it's just people just kind of have it conditioned in their brain to not trust what's going on in Sacramento. I mean, I think people have just been burned so many times throughout the years.
It's a defense mechanism.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, people say I use it with the Vikings all the time, but I think that it is just, I just think that people have seen it with their own eyes and they understand that, you know, sometimes there's been really lofty expectations for this team, and lofty is kind of relative, but they tend to fall short. I mean, if year after year, people will tell you, hey, DeMarcus Cousins, Rudy Gay, and Isaiah Thomas, that's going to be the team that breaks the streak. And if you would have been on the other side of that, you would have been right 17 straight years in a row. And so I think that people just kind of are naturally conditioned to think what's going to go wrong. And really, there's not much reason with their past to believe what's going to go right. And I think that's what's going to hopefully change this season. And you know, I think DeMar is going to be a big piece of that.
Yeah. J. Ross, what is to you the biggest question, or not necessarily the question, the one thing you're most anxious to see about the Kings this year? Maybe it's a question, maybe it's something you're expecting to see, maybe you've seen it already. The one thing you're most anxious to see from the Kings this year?
How DeMar and De'Aaron late in games, they've both been clutch, and I think they've got 2 great guys that can finish games. So I want to see how that kind of is sorted out when they get that first close game. A lot of NBA games are within 1 to 2 possessions with 3 minutes to go. And so they got 2 great closers. But, you know, I don't know that it's ego there, but they've had 2 guys that have been successful. So which way will they go? But they also can go to Keegan. They could go to Malik. They can go through Sabonis. So kind of, I think one thing I want to see on a more of a highlight type is how the Kings handle a close game late with all the people that can score.
Yeah. What do you got, Stiles?
Well, and great job to Frankie Cardicelli, you know, with the little Bambino. That's what we call him. And Frankie, he was in the building when something was said that I really did not see this coming, guys. We had Coach Mike Brown on our show during media day. Okay. And at that time he talked about Keon Ellis. All right. Keon Ellis, I guess, essentially filling in. We thought that Keon Ellis won that job, won the 2 job. Today it comes out when Kevin Huerter is back, he will likely be the starter. So I just want to see, are we going to go on the Kevin Huerter roller coaster again? Oh my goodness, when he's not scoring, well, he's still better as a starter. We can't put him on the bench. And that's the craziest thing to me. I've never heard that. You know, Jason, you played baseball. We all played sports. When have you heard of that? We can't pull him because he's not playing well. Well, what world is that?
Is your partner okay today?
No, he's struggling.
He got really
he's
upset.
pissed off. He got to be here. That's what it is.
No, you want to get me
about the pizza thing earlier.
You want to get me out here at 5, then you gonna get the real. I'm just telling you.
Yeah. How about you, Drapes?
No, because and Stiles is my guy, but of course he's wrong. You know, and I mean, because here's the thing. Here's the thing about it. What did Keon Ellis do to win that job? And Keon's my guy, no doubt about it. But look at the team's record. And you add, and we were just talking about this our last hour on our show, and you add in a guy like DeMar DeRozan. Now, if Keon is shooting 40%, is taking more than 1 or 2 threes a game, I need him up to 4 or 5. But I think the presence of Kevin Huerter is even more important now, even with the numbers not being what we want them to be. Like, he doesn't have to average 15, but just his presence. Imagine if you're game planning for the Sacramento Kings. You got to chase Kevin Huerter. You can't go under screens. And when you got a guy like DeMar DeRozan, you got De'Aaron Fox, you got Domas, who aren't necessarily known as 3-point shooters, you got to have that threat. And, Keon, now, if he does start and if he goes at 40%, and if he has a sustained success a month or two and teams start actually scouting him and have him at the top of the scouting report and figure, oh my gosh, we can't let him shoot, then I'm with you. But he's not there yet, I don't think.
No, that's fair. I know we got to get to the other side. I hear what you're saying, and I didn't love what I saw from Keon during the preseason either. All I'm saying is at some point, people aren't going to keep falling for who Kevin Huerter is supposed to be in theory. He's got to actually do it, Drake.
No, and before we get out of here for break, I said it probably takes 10 to 15 games. And if he can't give it to us, then you got to make a move.
Okay.
How about you? What do you
On
Chris
this
Watkins?
specifically, or what am I looking for?
We're gonna go to 25.
Oh, are we?
Yeah, go to 25.
Verlad's over here like telling me break. Verlad's like break.
Quickly.
This is what happens when you get like 3 different people who
I know,
run a
right?
show on
All
at the
right,
same
all right.
time.
I've got
What
a
am I
poem.
look-
If we got time, I've got a poem. No.
What am I looking forward to, or how do I feel about the Keon
Yeah.
situation?
You can
What-
go anywhere you want. I do want to know what you're most interested in.
Yeah,
seeing.
for sure. I would say the thing I'm most interested to see is just the continued development of Keegan Murray, if that is going to be continued
It's a
development.
good one.
I just kind of think that, and I was talking to Frankie about it actually the other day.
How
I just
many
kind of
mentions is Frankie going
it's
to
just
get?
so
by the way?
many. I mean, honestly, not enough. You can't give him enough. I just really feel like in a way the season is very much dependent on how good or the same Keegan is. I think if Keegan's going to continue to improve those couple points per game, if he's going to continue to look more and more confident, I think it could really lead to this team making the second round or making some noise in the playoffs. But I do think that if Keegan is going to kind of, continue to be in his shell and not feel like, oh, this is my moment and let me defer to the other guys, I just think that could lead to this team just having a defined floor or defined ceiling, I guess. And I just feel like Keegan specifically, I want to see how he feels now that, I think last year at this time, there was conversation of, is Keegan Murray going to be the 3rd leading scorer? Is he maybe going to be the 2nd leading scorer? This season, I don't know if there's any illusion that it's not going to be De'Aaron, DeMar. I mean, Sabonis has been up near 20 points per game. Who knows where Malik Monk's going to be? So I hope that Keegan can continue to grow and not kind of get stunted by the other stars around.
By the way, Chris Watkins is the inventor. Speaking of the Keegan Murray, he is the inventor of one of the greatest games, maybe the greatest guessing game in radio history, Keegan or Chris,
Yes.
where he would play a clip from one or the other. And you had to guess, and it's hard.
It's hard.
I think it's easy. I
Yeah,
really
I
think
think
it's easy.
that's
I
right.
really
You
think
invented
it's
the game.
very easy.
Yeah,
It's so
I
obvious
struggled
to
with
me.
it.
There's something that's just a little bit different about the tone of their voices that you can tell.
To me,
But
it's like predicting the outcome of a Bengals game with the spread. You think you got it. Oh no, it didn't work. I don't think it's the most important thing by any stretch for the Kings, but I'm really interested in seeing what they get from the bench. Like Orlando Robinson to me is a really intriguing player. We didn't see him in the preseason. So to me, I'm interested to see, Dougie McDermott, what kind of production they get from the bench this year.
yeah, Jordan McLaughlin too, 47%
Yeah,
last year.
yeah,
Like, is
yeah.
that going to continue to be a thing? I mean,
Yeah.
that seems pretty lofty to
Yeah.
expect.
But J-Ross, do you have thoughts on the 2-guard? You were starting at 2-guard?
I knew when Mike Brown kept talking, like there's something about the floor spacing that he's enamored with, and Huerter is that. If that's what you want, it's Huerter.
Like, yep.
We've all
I've
talked.
been saying that for months,
I know
though,
you
right?
have.
That's
You
been my
have.
thing, right?
You have.
Okay.
And
You
I want to ask you guys this because I think we all bring up defense for this team at some point and some concerns. I don't think they necessarily not draft, trade for, or play their top defensive guys. So how much philosophy-wise do they care about? I know they care. It's probably the wrong way to put it. But if we would say Keon's the best defender, I don't think he's going to start. If we would say Alex Len probably inside is their best interior defender, but I don't know how much he'll play. They add a guy like McDermott. Huerter will start likely. I just don't think there is a great defensive concept for the team as far as players, or if they had the best defensive player, like we've talked about Thibault before. What if they added him? Would he play? And I just don't think it's a weird.
But so many of the
conundrum
guys
the
you're
Kings in.
talking about they're one or the other.
True.
Like Keegan is both. So he
Correct.
plays.
Of course
But
he
some of the
does.
guys you're talking about they're defense
But
first.
they lean offense, don't
Yeah.
you think? I mean, I guess that's
Yeah.
where I'm going.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, look at the offseason moves.
Yeah.
I mean, if they lean defensively, they would have went out there and traded for a Thibault guy. They got DeMar DeRozan. They are all in on offense, I think. I think when you look at what happened last season, and Monty McNair has talked about this, the step that we took back offensively, I think, was very surprising. And if you can be a top 5 offense in the middle of the pack defense, you're going to be good. We saw it a couple of years ago, but you can't be middle of the pack both. And I think with our roster and our personnel, I don't know if, at this point we can ever be a top 5 defensive team, but we know we could be top 3 offense. And so I think they're leaning in on that.
Yeah. Basically, how I understand Mike Brown's philosophy is we want to get the most out of our guys defensively, but we're not necessarily going to look for dudes that defense is their forte. Matisse Thybulle, like we said, he can't shoot the basketball, and you're not going to play. Keon Ellis can shoot the basketball, and he can't even start. So if we're going to go in that direction, Kevin Huerter, to me, fine. That's what they want to do. Cool. But at the end of the day, when I just saw Brendan Nunez put up some ice baby numbers as far as what they were doing in the preseason shooting the basketball. Was it 26%? Something ridiculous like that. So you got to score the basketball. And I think the big reason the preseason made people a little bit scared is, honestly, guys, it was that Blazers game. Because that was the game specifically that DeMar DeRozan was supposed to keep from happening. Oh, well, it's not going to happen because they're going to be able to stop runs, and he's a guy, and it's the preseason, right? I think it was specifically that loss. The 2 first Warrior game, we keep talking about it. The starters didn't even play the second half. That's fine. That Blazers game was the one where, whoa, I thought that wasn't supposed to happen anymore. That was my take on it.
I tend to agree with Drapes, really. I mean, I think that there's just not really much value in them being middle of the pack both sides. I think at least they can have an identity by being an offensive juggernaut. And I think we saw that that's when this team was most successful, and kind of a combination of what you all said. I mean, I think that if this team can just get to above average or even just slightly average defensively, and if their offense can be better than what it was, as crazy as that is to say with all the records they broke in that first Beam Team season, I think that's this team's best path to success. Now, is that a championship? Probably not, but I think you can still make the second round. You can still make the Western Conference Finals depending on matchup. And if you're just based on one side of the ball, I think you can make it. Now, the Western Conference is so tough. Maybe not, but I think at least this team has an identity on the offensive end, and that's something that in a playoff series, depending on matchup, you could really kill somebody.
I understand what you're saying, Drapes, about how Kevin Huerter should start. And you've been saying that a long time. And I know you're in there. You're actually in some of their meetings. And I respect that. And obviously, Mike Brown indicated today that Kevin Huerter, if he's playing Thursday, he will probably start. I get all that. I still think, J. Ross, getting back to what you were just saying, to me, Keon Ellis as a starter at the 2 guard makes sense because he doesn't need the ball. His usage rate is very low. And you've got 4 other guys that need the ball in some way, shape, or form. Domas not as much as the others because he creates his own off rebounds and things. But a guy like Keon Ellis, if he can make his threes, to me is a great fit because he doesn't need the ball. But if you leave him alone, he can still burn you.
Yeah, and I'm thinking too, kind of relating then to the bench. Just a question maybe for all you guys. How many do you think legitimately, like if we just say over a 10-game stretch, how deep is he playing? Who's playing off the bench? We know Malik. That's easy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Who else?
I think it's 9. I think I did the math the other day. Is Jordan? I would assume McLaughlin. I would assume Trey Lyles. I would assume Malik. I would assume one of Keon or Kevin, and I think Alex Len is going to be in there.
McDermott at all?
I think McDermott will be in there every game.
So now
I think he'll play every game.
So does Alex play?
Yeah, it might be 10.
Or is
he has to, right?
I think he has. I guess you could run. You could run small ball.
And now we're talking 11. They're not going to play 11.
They might. Like I can bring up the Alex Len plus minus numbers last year. They were incredible.
Yeah, Alex Len has to play.
I really think.
What are they? What are those plus minus?
I know
he was. I believe he was first in the NBA in net rating. He was, I believe, first or second in defensive rating. For it was. I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, you look at some of the advanced numbers and they're insane. I get that Alex Len is definitely not the sexiest player to go out there and put and get excited about, but I just feel like, especially with this team, and as we just had a conversation about how much they care about defense, I do kind of think you need rim protection at some point. And Alex Len is really versatile. I mean, I'm kind of joking when I bring it up, but offensively, we saw him hit a corner 3 in the preseason game the other day. I think that he can really be a piece that you can move around quite a bit.
Drapes, if you are playing your top 5, and I'm including Malik as one of your top 5, as many minutes as they're going to play, are there enough minutes to play that many guys coming off the bench?
Yeah, because I don't think Domas and De'Aaron are playing 40 minutes. You know, they're going to be right around 33, 34, I think. And, you know, you're not asking Alex Len for 20 minutes a night. You know, he'll probably give you about 10 minutes. They'll do some small ball stuff. Trey Lyles. I think Doug McDermott, and it was only one preseason game, but he gives them something that maybe only Kevin Huerter get. Like, he's a true catch and shoot 3-pointer. Like, he has to play. And I think he's going to play night in and night out. You know, a guy who might be on the outside looking in on some DMP CDs is Jordan McLaughlin.
He might be.
He might be, because, and let's say Mike Brown decides to go Kevin Huerter at the 2 spot to start. Now you got Malik and Keon at the guard spot that got to get. And so Jordan McLaughlin might be, you know, that last point guard coming off the bench. And so, and real quick too, guys, one of the things I mentioned earlier yesterday or last week about a guy like Kevin Huerter and then Keon coming off the bench. Let's say you start the game off and your defense goes sideways. Who's your relief pitcher defensively? Who's your guy you turn to off the bench to help you change the game defensively? If Keon Ellis is starting, you don't have a defender at the guard spot to come in and help you out and change the tenor of the game. That's why I think Mike is leaning towards Kevin Huerter.
We're going to come right back to the throne room, Sactown Sports. But you had something to say there, Alan?
No.
Alan has something to say about the Kings' defensive stopper off the bench and more on DeMar DeRozan's fit and what Kings fans can expect from him when we come right back to Sactown Sports.
Great.
Hey. All right. Everybody good? Everybody good?
Yeah, we there. We hanging.
Okay.
Great. Great. Great.
Are we on StreamYard?
Yeah.
Darn it.
Audio wise as well.
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. Hi, StreamYard. Right. Fantastic.
All right.
What up, StreamYard? What up? What's that?
New can for Pepsi?
Well, this is the actual, I don't know, with real sugar.
We have the
Made
score
with
of the
real
game.
sugar. The one and only Kyle Draper,
Thank
the
you.
LeBron of the station. And I'm Kevin Michael Whitey Gleason, breaking down the Kings season. Want to thank Crumbl Cookies for being here. Thank you, Chris. Thank you,
Yes, it's back there.
Also, Beach Hut Deli, thank you for
Yes.
making this a
Shout
very
out Beach
special night. It's just the beginning of the season, maybe the beginning of the round table, right, guys?
Mm.
Let me ask you guys this. I don't know if you saw the Crumbl Cookies back there.
Ooh,
Oh, yeah.
I get a
I
did.
You know, this ain't an eight-year-old birthday party. He cut them up in 4s, like little tiny square. You know, we can eat the whole one, right? You don't have to cut them up. I want the whole thing. You know what I mean? Like,
should have
he cut
one
them up in
first.
little, you know, triangles, and I'm like, man. Oh, so
Yeah.
all right. Sorry
Very
about
good.
that. Sorry. What you got, Alan? You seething over there?
No,
What's
I'm not.
happening?
You know what? We're sitting here,
We are.
and it's so funny to me. And the reason, you know, people on the Sac Chat, I call it the Sac Chat, whatever you guys call it in your show, that's fine too. We call it the Sac Chat on YouTube. Be sure to join it if you haven't joined it.
Chateau, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, that's fine. But we're sitting here and people are like, Al, Dave is rubbing off on Al and he's being a pessimist.
People are saying that.
Do you
Oh,
have the
ooh.
chat? I had it up during the
You
break.
had it up. Let me. I
And here's
missed
the
it.
thing. No, and here's the thing. I need to keep everybody real here. I distinctly remember, and it's not just Kings fans. Everybody does it. We're sitting here talking about all these guys. Oh my goodness,
This is
how
crazy.
are we gonna play all these dudes? Jordan McLaughlin. We're gonna have 10, 11 dudes. I feel like we did the same thing last season.
Nah,
We did the same thing last season.
with Chris Duarte.
Duarte,
Come on.
Sasha.
Come on.
Oh my goodness, how are we
Come
gonna play all
on.
these
Duarte played a
guys?
lot last
And
year,
we could
Alan.
barely, and then 2 weeks went by, we could barely find dudes to put on the court.
So who's that candidate this year?
I don't know what the rotation is going to be. All I know is I'm not sitting here using both hands and every finger talking about a rotation until I see them play. I know who's going to play, and that's about 7, maybe 8.
All right, who's out then? Tell me who's
You're
out.
only gonna
Alan.
play 7?
We is this
Two
the, this is the
bench- right,
this is
seven,
the this is
exactly.
the year that Alex Len is going to finally get that playing time after all that. I now sound like Karl Anthony Towns. After all
Well,
that,
they had JaVale McGee last year too.
he
if
didn't
you-
play either.
No, but he started the season. He did. Then he didn't, and Alex Len played. You got to have a backup center.
No,
don't
I know.
you?
No, I know
gotta
you
have
do. But we're
somebody,
talking.
right?
I'm just saying we know what the usage is. This is why when people talk about you can't bring in a Valanciunas or somebody like that because Sabonis plays too dang much. Okay, so We know there's about 8 guys, but we're sitting here talking about 10, 11 guys. Come on, guys. Come on.
Well, you want to run 8 players all year?
No,
I'm not saying
nobody
that.
does.
No,
so
I'm not saying that.
if they run 8 players all year, and when they get to the
I'm
playoffs,
just
what they're
saying-
going to shorten it to 6?
No.
Like, what are you talking about?
I'm just saying, can we at least see what these bench guys can do first?
I know what they can do. Doug McDermott's been in the league a
But
decade.
that's the guy I'm talking about.
Alex
here.
Lynn's
Hold on.
been in a decade.
Doug McDermott, come on, man. Come on.
What about him? He plays a 20-minute a night guy, can be. He's proven that. That's proven. That's
Okay.
not a, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
he's not going to
You
be.
are
stop
negative,
it.
huh? He is negative.
I'm not negative guy. I had him a 3 seed last season. A 3 seed. And they want to go it'd be a 9? Come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on, Whitey. All right, what you got?
I wanted to ask
You on
Jason
an island
Ross.
here, big
No,
fella.
I'm
You on
just
an
saying,
island.
we got 10, 11 guys. We can't find them.
Every team plays 10 or 11 guys in the regular
can't find
season.
playing time for all these guys. I'm looking straight.
Every
Where am I
team
finding
plays
these
10 or 11
guys?
guys, though, in the regular season, Alan.
You have to.
Like, you
Yeah.
got to.
Got to.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the biggest question with DeRozan? Is it just the fit? DeMar DeRozan. Fit with his team?
No, I don't think it's fit. I think it would be his defense.
Wow.
That's it.
Good one. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fit. I think he's gonna be fun. The offense is gonna be spectacular. The starting group, the starting 5, and however they intermix Monk and the rest, he's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
He'll help him free throws, 2-point game, streak breaker, all that stuff. Like when other teams on a run, he's gonna be great offensively. It's just his defense is what, and it's not just him, but I think that would be my concern.
I still think they need another front court player.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you look at the roster and it's pretty clear that they kind of need somebody else next to
Yes.
Domas. I think they hope that Keegan Murray can kind of fill those gaps. But I honestly think that that's maybe where DeMar can have I don't want to say a resurgence, but, as he's kind of transitioning more into the late 30s of his career, like maybe he does play a little bit more playing against 4s defensively. Like he can't really hang on the perimeter. That's what Keegan Murray's much better at. I wonder if DeMar is going to use maybe some of that old man strength to kind of bang around in the post with the Aaron Gordons of the world and things like that. I think maybe that's where he can find someplace defensively, because I do agree with Jason. Like, I think that's the place where DeMar really does, I won't say hurt this team, but he's definitely not elevating it.
Mm-hmm. I know right after they made the deal, we had Jerry Reynolds on, and I asked Jerry, okay, are they improving their offense at the expense of their defense with the DeRozan deal? He said, I don't really think that's the case. So it's a great question going forward. We'll have to see where that ends up with DeMar DeRozan. But Alan, I know you and Chris were pretty upset today on Twitter about something that somebody said about the Kings will regret the DeMar DeRozan decision.
No, it was ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You guys trying to look? I'm playing devil's advocate for a lot.
Well, you should have heard
this Kings
Drapes.
love fest. that's
Drapes
going
went
on.
off on that guy.
Yeah,
today on our show.
To Kevin O'Connor.
Yeah, to Kevin O'Connor and whoever that.
legend of, and I mean, he sounds like somebody that games with your son.
Right.
I don't
right.
even know who that is.
Well, I looked him up and I looked at his bio. He says he's the guy that posts all those NBA videos.
Okay.
So his credentials, his expertise on the NBA is he retweets videos and posts NBA videos. And it's all of a sudden, for somehow, this guy is a guy people should pay attention to, his opinion. And so I went on a 10-minute rant about how sports media, there are a lot of people, just because they have a lot of followers, they ain't in the locker rooms. They're not talking to the players. They don't know the game. But yet for a guy like Kevin O'Connor to give this guy a platform, and just because he has X number of followers, it's like fans and viewers and listeners, they deserve better. Like this guy, like he said, the Kings are going to regret signing DeMar DeRozan, and B, DeRozan should come off the bench.
You forgot C. You
What was
forgot
C?
C.
Did I hear C?
They need to prepare for the Keegan Murray and Trey Lyles era.
Yeah.
Era.
Called it a movement.
Yeah, the movement. Right.
And that's no disrespect, but come on, man.
I said it to
You're not
Whitey.
watching.
Is there a Trey Lyles and Keegan movement that I don't know about?
This
I
is
got
what
the Trey Bays. But
Right.
that's right.
about
This
it.
is what I would prefer. And I don't know the context. We know Kevin O'Connor, he's got a long history of hating on the Kings for whatever reason.
Mhm.
This is what I just wish, Drapes, and I think you're going to be with me on this one. If somebody called me up and they said, "Hey, Alan, we want to have you on to talk rugby," okay, I'd say, "Hey, I know I'm extremely entertaining, but I don't think I want to go on that show.
No,
Because
you
I
would
can't.
say if it's on TV, I would.
Well, that's also true. How many people watch the show? How many people watch the show? So for this guy, Legend of Winning, I'm pretty sure he's a Laker fan. It comes to the situation, we have people on the show and sometimes we'll say, oh, we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about that. If you don't know what you're talking about, don't talk about it. There's just no need, because now you lose the little credibility you have because, brother, what are you talking about?
See, that's why it doesn't bother me. And I understand where you guys are coming from, but to me, it's like, that's probably blatantly wrong. So good luck. You
Sure.
have to, you're going to have to live with the consequences of that. We move on. I don't like the stuff that's, the indications, the hints, the suggestions that are, clickbait stuff. That's just wrong. But we had some really interesting reporting last week from The Athletic on De'Aaron Fox and his future with the Kings. What'd you make of all that, JRS? I know you guys talked to Sam about all that and where all that is. This is a huge year for De'Aaron Fox.
I think all of it made a lot of sense to me. I don't think it's what everybody wanted to hear per se, but I think if I'm De'Aaron, if I'm the Kings, maybe not the Kings as much, but if I'm De'Aaron, I think he's playing that perfectly, because he's putting a little bit of pressure on the organization, maybe a little pressure on himself and his teammates, but I think that's all good. And if they get to places where they want to go, I don't think
it all takes care of itself.
It does.
Yeah.
And also, let's say it doesn't, but I think it also varies how drastic that is. Because my example was Malik. I would not say last year was a great season. That was the most vulnerable free agent the Kings had.
Yeah.
And he said, I love it here. This is home. I came back, and we all know he could have taken more money off of a year that was not what everybody wanted. So he had belief in what they were doing. That was before DeRozan. That was before Mike Brown was extended. So it didn't phase him. Now, everybody's different, but I think the Kings are in a good spot here, and I think De'Aaron doing what he's doing makes 100% sense to me.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree with Jason. I mean, I do think that they're playing the game. I think De'Aaron's now got Rich Paul as his agent. I think that plays a part in him just, again, kind of playing the game of, I want to stay here, but like Jason said, you got to kind of put pressure on the organization. And I think essentially, for lack of a better term, holding them hostage is a really good tactic, especially in the NBA. It does tend to work. I mean, I just think that it's a really dicey situation. And I think De'Aaron does want to stay here in Sacramento, but I also definitely understand why he isn't going to put that to paper quite yet, because it is his career. And I will also say there's a lot of people who, especially on our show, have been questioning, like, is De'Aaron really worth the money that they're going to go out there and give him? I would just push back and say, I mean, in order for him to get the money that's being reported out there, he literally has to earn it. He has to go get that all NBA or all defensive team. And I just feel like if he does play well enough to earn that right and then earn the Supermax, I don't really think there's going to be much question of whether or not he's that caliber of player.
Drapes weighs in on that, and we'll tell you exactly how the Kings are going to do this year when the Knights of the Roundtable return on Sactown Sports.
Good work, fellas. Mike's still hot.
Still hot.
Yeah.
Stay hot.
Yeah, and I got something when we get back to it.
Oh,
You got to save something for your show tomorrow.
No,
Huh?
I got plenty. Don't you worry.
I don't know, Shaq. What do you think about that?
Man, oh man. We wouldn't even be able to fit Dave in here. Oh, we ain't got mics. Well,
Couldn't fit his head.
That too. Hey now. Hey now.
By the way, this table is not round.
I definitely was thinking that too. It's all right, next year. It's kind
Knights
of,
of the theoretically round
that's
table.
right. That's right.
Do NBA players still drink that? I remember reading about the Spurs years ago.
Pressed.
Oh, the press juices are the best.
Halftime.
I think they give it to
Apple,
them
lemon,
after
ginger beet.
after the games, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like in the locker room, they
Uh-huh.
actually have just
Supposed to
like
be much better
30
for
of
you.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very expensive.
Probably not as good as this, but
Oh no, back in the day.
this is pressed Pepsi.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Here lies puke guy. We lost him.
Temperamental Island has had enough.
Who's a good citizen?
Yeah.
They're like, Drakes, who is this?
Oh, I know, right? I don't know. I don't know who that is. Good citizen.
YouTube? Oh, I saw that. I said, I responded to that. I said that was a good one. That was decent. I was hoping no one would say anything. Why would you say something like that, Frankie? No, but then you don't.
Are you? Come on.
Oh, shoot.
Come on. Let's be real.
What is this, 4th grade?
Back to back is
I don't
crazy.
think so. Hey, can someone clip when I was looking for playing time so I can put it on my social?
Can somebody do that?
Frankie,
Can anybody do
since
that?
you want to talk trash about me, it's the least you can do. Thank you. Thank you. You like that one, Drapes?
You guys just want to stay till 6 a.m.?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got takes.
Yeah.
I got time and I got takes.
Time it takes.
By the way, you remember you called me yesterday? It turns out we are doing
What time and where?
it.
Yeah.
I'll get back to you.
Yes.
How much now?
30 seconds.
How much now?
Mm,
Well, that was a quick 8.
that was
No.
so fast.
All right, finish strong, guys. Hottest
Yeah.
takes.
56 we go to?
Whenever you want.
Where are we going to?
58.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's infinity now.
I'm gonna hold this. I'm holding this now. Let's go.
We are back in the throne room, the Sactown Sports throne room. They've never even let me in this room before. I don't know about you guys.
You never been in this one?
No,
Oh,
nights
man.
of the roundtable wrapping things up. Drapes, we had to go to break. You were going to weigh in, I believe, on De'Aaron Fox and his future with the Kings.
Yeah, and obviously, Sam and Slates, they do a fantastic job, but when has anybody ever turned down a full max contract? And so if I'm a Kings fan, I'm not worried about De'Aaron Fox, because what more does he want Monty and Wes and the staff to do? Like, they've built a good contending kind of team. And so I said it earlier last week, if things go sideways, it's probably because Fox and the players didn't play their best. And so you can't blame that on the organization. I think, you add Domas, you add in DeMar. This is the most talented team that De'Aaron has been a part of here in Sacramento. And so I don't see why he would be disgruntled if they come up short. If they win 47 games and get bounced in the first round, why would that impact whether he wants to resign or not? I think, to Chris's point, it's just Rich Paul. Rich Paul is that's their standard operating procedure. That's their MO for a player to have empowerment, control over their thumb over the organization. And not saying De'Aaron wants that, but he's a smart businessman. He wants to keep his options open. When $300 and something million is thrown at you, I don't care which team you playing for. If Detroit called me right now, if the Wizards said, Drapes, $342 million, I'm signing. See you, later. And so I don't think De'Aaron would leave that much money, because you never see that in the NBA.
Yeah.
A player leave a max contract on the table.
I think it cuts both ways, to your point. Yeah, if he plays great, as you're saying, it all takes care of itself. You want to pay him, the team's doing great. And if the team doesn't play well, maybe he looks a little circumspect at the team, but the team's also going to look at him that way and everything else too. If it doesn't go well, everything's set up where it should.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't, it's just not going to be him going, I don't know about this, because the organization also is going to be reevaluating everything if things go sideways. Alan, I know you had something,
Yeah,
and if you
he's
can, this should be easy for you. Keep it short.
So you were
That's
working on that. That's what you were
crazy.
doing during the break.
That's crazy.
That's fine. Well, first of all, Drapes, the one thing I wanted to say was a lot of people are bringing up, and I'm trying to confirm what the details were, but what Jalen Brunson did, how he didn't take all the money he could have, he could have taken, and people are saying that De'Aaron Fox could do something like that. We know he's playing with his buddies, even though they kicked Dante DiVincenzo out the Villanova crew. Look, this is what I'll say about De'Aaron Fox, and guys, I'm being serious here, okay? If De'Aaron Fox leaves Sacramento, he will be leaving to go be a number 2 or number 3 somewhere else. De'Aaron Fox will not leave Sacramento still looked at as it, or looked at in general, because I don't know if he's even looked at like that now, as an elite championship number 1. If De'Aaron Fox leaves Sacramento, he's leaving to go be a Robin somewhere. And he might win, but he's not going to go somewhere and be a Batman again. Maybe we could argue 1A, 1B, but the place where he full on straight up has the keys in Sacramento, if something goes squirrely and De'Aaron Fox decides to leave, some of that is going to be him having to look in the mirror, and maybe he decides to go elsewhere, because then at that point that Supermax wouldn't be on the table. But I think if De'Aaron Fox leaves, he will not be a number 1 wherever he goes next.
I don't think he will leave. Do you think he will leave?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we have not heard one peep from this guy when this team was down, this franchise was down. Like, he had all the reason in the world to want to leave. And Jason, you've been around longer than I have, and I never heard any peep like, get me out of here or anything like that. I think De'Aaron is trying to, keep his thumb on the organization, make sure they know it ain't all sweet. Like, we got to keep being aggressive and keep pushing for it. But at the end of the day, I don't think he would leave.
And I also think if he could paint the perfect picture, like, he's going to get paid.
Right.
But the perfect picture, I think, in De'Aaron Fox's mind is to win a championship here. Now, that may never happen, but I don't think there could be a better highlight to his career. I do agree with Alan. If he left, he would probably be going to a team that's well established. He would be a piece, an important piece, and he would get a title. Would still mean the same, but I don't think anything could mean more to De'Aaron Fox in his career as if he did it here.
And don't you think that getting DeMar DeRozan is exactly the type of thing De'Aaron Fox is saying he wants the organization to do?
Yeah, they upgraded.
Yeah.
They upgraded in talent.
Right.
They did. And it's just, what will it mean? What does it mean amongst the West? Is it enough? I mean, that's what we're starting to see, in the 82, but I think they have to be a team that's looked at as a possible contender.
You got predictions for us, J. Ross?
Yeah, I don't want to be, the preseason influenced me. I don't want to be a homer. Normally, I'm 77-5.
You got to counterbalance the guy next to you.
I know, so I'm dropping to 75-7. I really don't know. I've been saying this on the show that I think the West is so crazy that, in my line has been, if they do everything right, everything falls into place, which I don't know what that looks like, but that's the main 5 to 6 guys staying healthy, playing a ton of minutes, having a good year. I honestly think they could finish first. I really do.
Wow.
But on the same thing, things go wrong, a few injuries, or maybe it doesn't gel. Honestly, I think they could be out of the top 10. I think it's that fragile because, look, the last couple of years, they win 48, they were 3rd, then they win 46, and they're 9th. I mean, that's not much of a difference between some of these teams. So I really don't have a win total number. I think they're going to be really close to 50, and I think that puts them in the top 6. Is that 2? Is that 6? Is that – it could be 8. I just don't know, but I think they're going to be in the mix.
Mr. Happy?
No, no. Because this is why I got to be real, okay? Because I have expectations, okay?
All right, go ahead, man. Go ahead, bro.
But here we go. All right. I think that the Nuggets getting way too much love. The Nuggets are going to take a drastic step back. Ja Morant, this is what we're talking about with De'Aaron Fox. Stop letting everybody say that Ja Morant is that much better than you. Him, Tyrese, go out there and take it. They're going to be either the 5 seed or the 4 seed. That's what the Kings are going to be.
Okay.
That's
any win total?
Give me a 49.
49. 49 last year was playing.
It's a new year.
You know that, right? Okay. Just
New
making
year.
sure.
I can be as healthy.
I said 51 or 52. My only concern is, and this is something none of us know, obviously the injuries can impact all of these, but what's the team's mindset? Do they come out with a sense of purpose? Do they come dialed in every game? Do they come with the chip on their shoulder? We mentioned earlier, talked about it earlier, or, is it just one of 82 if they lose to Charlotte or something like that? And so I think 51, 52 on paper sounds right, but I don't know where the team, mentally, I need to see this first 2-3 weeks of the season to be like, okay, this is a different Kings team. What happened last year, they're not going to let happen again this year.
I got them winning 49, good for the 6 seed, and a first-round matchup with the be the 3 seed, right? That'd be the team that they're going to play on Thursday, the Minnesota Timberwolves. First round matchup, Chris.
I've got 50 wins. It could be more than that, but I just think I've been saying this for a while, but I just feel like with DeMar here now, it allows for anything to go wrong. I mean, if De'Aaron has to miss 10 games, if Sabonis has to miss 10 games, felt like last year that would have been the end of the season, no question about it. With DeMar here and Malik also re-signed, it feels like, again, De'Aaron misses 10 games. Hey, you have DeMar there who can still be a 25-plus point per game scorer. Maybe Malik steps up. Maybe then Keegan can step up. Just feels like the top end depth allows them to have a higher ceiling, and I think 50 wins to me should be the goal.
Who's your X factor for the Kings this year, whatever that means?
I would say either Keegan Murray or Kevin Huerter. I mean, if Kevin Huerter returns back to first beam team season, I think it looks a lot like that season. If he plays a lot like he did last year, probably. I don't know if he has necessarily that much impact on the team, but I do think you're really going to feel it.
I got Trey Lyles X factor.
Tell me why.
Because it's so vitally important. If he knocks down his threes, he's going to have a huge positive impact on this team going forward.
Yeah, I hear you. And I just want to make sure Trey gets the opportunity. Like, don't jerk around the minutes with him. Like Trey should be probably a 20-minute a night kind of guy. Like, I think, we talked about this earlier, Whitey. I think the more Trey plays, the better he plays. You know what I mean? I don't think he's a guy where, one night he's 8 minutes, the next night 16 and all this. I think Trey needs to know his role, his rotation, where he's going to be at. Great news that he practiced fully today. We'll see what happens this week, whether he plays. To me, my X factor is Kevin Huerter. I think what he does, he takes this team to an entirely different level. We have guys that can make threes, but Kevin Huerter's a shooter. And you have to pay attention to him. And, I think he opens up so much for everybody else. De'Aaron Fox getting downhill, obviously DeMar DeRozan. So if he's a 39, 40% three-point shooter, I think he's our X factor.
Kevin Huerter. We only have a few seconds, but we got to get you.
Since he's back on the bench, I guess Keon Ellis can be an X factor now.
Yeah.
All right, I think the whole season always relies on your best player, so it's still those guys, but you're asking for an X factor. It's Keegan. I mean, he's the best two-way player they've got.
Nice.
He means the most. If he is consistent on both ends, that's going to help him the most.
Not to put you on the spot. Do you know what you guys have coming up tomorrow?
Oh, this replayed 4 hours.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for being with us. Stick around. Infinity Sports Radio is next. Thanks for listening to the Knights of the Roundtable on Sactown Sports.
Thanks so long.
Girls.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Stop.